So James Gunn's DCU launched. Well, actually, I guess technically it lost with Creature Commandos, the animation. But then we had Superman, which did fairly well in theaters, and the next film is Supergirl, which is currently out in theaters now. Did not do so well opening weekend. People are already considering it a flop because of the fact that it did not meet expectations its opening weekend. And of course, with other films coming out and over the next couple of weeks, more than likely Supergirl will probably underperform and will end up being considered a flop. But who knows? We just passed opening weekend. But with that being said, the next film that is in the DCU lineup, will it be the film that puts the DCU back on track after the underperforming film that was Supergirl? Let's take a look. All right, this is coming from superherohype.com. It says DCU's future depends on a $40 million movie that has nothing to do with Superman. So the following the disappointing opening weekend of Supergirl, the future of DCU universe now depends on a $40 million movie that does not involve Superman. There have been two movies in James Gunn's DCU. The first was Superman, Gunn's interpretation of the Man of Steel. Released in July 2025, Superman garnered mostly positive reviews and grossed $618 million worldwide. Overall, a promising start for the revamped DC universe. The DCU's second movie, Supergirl, severely underperformed this past weekend with a domestic opening of 38 million. That is not ideal for a movie that costs over 170 million to produce. Supergirl's mixed reviews also didn't help its case, and it will most likely end its theatrical run as a box office flop. Supergirl is not as popular as Superman. Therefore, Warner Brothers probably did Supergirl a disservice by making it an expensive blockbuster. The industry would be contemplating it a lot differently if it cost $100 million. So, why Clayface could be the most important test of DCU Studios' new strategy. That next movie in the DCU is Clayface, a body horror movie starring Tom Rise Harries as Matt Hagen, an actor who transforms his body into clay after a gangster disfigured his face. James Watkins will direct from a screenplay by Mike Flanagan and Hossein Amani. Compared to the first DCU movies, Clayface presents a new strategy for this cinematic universe. Superman and Supergirl were expensive tentpole blockbusters featuring large-scale action scenes and high-profile stakes. Clayface is a genre movie with an estimated $40 million budget. While centering a movie about a future Batman villain without the Caped Crusader is undoubtedly a risk, positioning Clayface as a modest budget horror movie is an interesting strategy that might pave the way for the DCU's future. There's no guarantee that Clayface will work. Positive reviews will go a long way in determining the movie's fate. If it works, then genre based storytelling on modest budgets might be the way forward for DC movies about characters other than Superman and Batman. Clayface opens in theaters on October 23rd, 2026. So, first off, I liked Supergirl. You can see my full review. Was it great? No, it definitely had its flaws. But overall, I dug it. But with that being said, I knew that Supergirl was going to be a swing for the fences just because of the source material. And I thought it was risky because I felt it would have to be excellent to land with, across the board with multiple audiences. And unfortunately, it was not excellent and it did not land with multiple audiences, at least opening weekend. Now, again, we'll see if it does better over this week and next weekend. But the odds are against it for sure. But with that being said, I am really, really excited about Clayface, and I think it was really smart to make it a horror film because the horror genre does very, very well for less money. and we just had the two major horror films do fantastic this summer that were on modest budgets, and they killed it in theaters. And we continue to see that over and over and over again. Now, will Clayface follow that same trend? Who knows? But I think it's a calculated risk that makes sense because of how well horror films do on low budgets. And I don't know if this is the movie that the DCU's future depends on, because of the fact that they are in the middle of making Superman Man of Tomorrow. Like, they're not going to not finish that film. But I do think if Clayface does well, then that helps DCU's track record, right? And what I mean is if Clayface does well, then right now the only off film that they would have up to that point, based on how it's currently performing, would be Supergirl, because Superman did well. Based on how it's performing right now, it looks like Supergirl will not do well. But then if Clayface blows it out of the park, then they're two out of three. And then they follow that up with hopefully a hit and Man of Tomorrow. And then you throw in, of course, Lanterns, that will be on HBO Max. And if that does well, then, DCU's track record is on the right track, on the up and up. So I don't know if the future depends on Clayface, but I do feel like it puts them in a much better position if it does really well, because now it's not two films that completely bomb, but just one. And even Marvel had its bombs, had several bombs, actually. So, not every film is going to knock it out of the park. Obviously, the studio hopes they do, but unfortunately, that doesn't happen. But anyways, I am looking forward to Clayface. I cannot wait. It's one of my most anticipated movies for sure. It looks dope. I am excited for it. But what do you all think about this? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Do me a favor. If you like the content, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe. And hit that little alarm button as well, so you can get alerted whenever I post new content. And also, do me a favor, share with other people who you think would like this content as well. We have a big goal of 1,000 subscribers we're trying to get to, and we need your help. Appreciate it. Till the next one. Peace.